3 years ago, a man moved into the apartment next to mine. Unit 304. At first, I didn't pay him any attention. People come and go in this building all the time. The turnover is ridiculous. But he was different. He never came out. I mean never. Not once. No packages, no footsteps, no sounds. Just the flicker of a bluish light under the door late at night, and every so often, this strange smell, like burnt plastic or singed wires, that would seep into my apartment through the paper-thin walls. My building's a dump. Old as hell, barely up to code. You hear everything here: fights, music, furniture dragging at 3 in the morning, the occasional sobbing from someone's bathroom. But from 304? Silence. The kind of silence that presses on your chest and makes your skin crawl. For the first year, I chalked it up to the guy being a recluse. Maybe a programmer or some socially anxious work-from-home type. I even knocked once to say hi, holding a beer as a peace offering. No answer. No movement. Just that weird silence on the other side of the door that made my neck hairs stand up. I laughed it off. Everyone's got their quirks. I told myself not to be paranoid. But as time dragged on, I couldn't help but notice things. Strange things. Like the hallway light outside my door being on when I know I turned it off. Or my deadbolt being unlocked in the morning. Once, I found my kitchen chair slightly pulled out from the table. Another time, the volume on my TV was turned all the way up when I got home. It was playing static. I don't even use that TV anymore. It freaked me out, yeah, but I convinced myself I was being forgetful. Sleepwalking maybe. Stress. I work late hours. I drink more than I should. Maybe I was just losing it. That's what I told myself until my friend Jenna vanished. Jenna was one of those rare people who could make you feel like you weren't completely alone in the world. She had this laugh that sounded like it belonged in a better movie than real life. She'd come over on Fridays to watch bad horror films and eat microwave popcorn. We had this routine, you know? Something stable in a world that didn't feel stable at all. That night, she texted me from the lobby, "Here." I buzzed her in. I waited. 10 minutes went by. No knock on the door. I called. No answer. I texted again. Nothing. I went downstairs, figuring maybe she got caught up talking to someone or had trouble with the elevator. She was gone. I mean completely. Security footage showed her walking in. But no footage of her leaving. No footage of her in the elevator. No trace. It was like she stepped into the building and disappeared. I filed a report. The cops shrugged. People go missing all the time in this city, especially women. That's what the officer said. Like it was just another Tuesday. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my room staring at the wall between my unit and 304. I thought about Jenna. About the silence. About the flickering light. And then, at exactly 3:17 a.m., I heard it. 3 knocks. Not on my door. Not from the hallway. From inside the wall. I sat up in bed, frozen. My heart was a drum in my throat. I waited, thinking I imagined it. Then, again, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I don't know what came over me, but I knocked back. 1, 2, 3. Silence. Then, suddenly, bang bang bang, fast, hard fists pounding the wall like they wanted out. I screamed and turned on every light in the apartment. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. But as I stood there, I heard something else, breathing. Heavy, ragged breathing. Like someone with a collapsed lung trying to hold it together. It was coming from inside the wall. The next morning, I went to the front desk. There's this old guy who's worked here forever. I asked about 304. He gave me this look like I'd asked about a ghost. No one's lived there for years, he said. I blinked. But I've seen the lights. I've smelled, he cut me off. The guy who used to live there died. Heart attack. Young guy. Techie type. Paranoid. Said the building was sending him signals. They found him dead in the shower. I felt ice settle in my gut. But someone's in there now, I said. He shook his head. Nope. Sealed it off after the cleanup. It's been empty ever since. I didn't argue. I just walked away. Back to my apartment. Back to that wall. That night, I didn't sleep. I turned off all the lights, set my phone to record, pointed it at the wall, and waited. 3:17 a.m. The knocks came again. 3 times. Then, a pause. Then a voice. Faint. Broken. Help. I dropped my phone. My hands were shaking. Who are you? I whispered. No answer. I reached out and pressed my palm to the wall. It was warm. Too warm. Like something breathing behind it. I sat there the rest of the night, staring at the drywall, waiting for the sun to come up. And I couldn't help but wonder, if the man in 304 is dead, then who the hell is knocking from behind my wall? The following morning, I left my apartment for the first time in what felt like forever. The hallway smelled like bleach and dust. I couldn't tell if that made me feel safer or more unsettled. The entire time I was walking down the stairwell, I had this thought in the back of my mind: what if something followed me out? What if the thing in the wall didn't want me to leave? I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see a shadow that wasn't mine or hear a whisper I couldn't explain. I went straight to the hardware store. Bought a stud finder, a hammer, and a pry bar. I must have looked like a lunatic, eyes bloodshot from no sleep, hands trembling as I counted out the bills. The cashier gave me a look but didn't say anything. People in this city don't ask questions. They mind their own business. Back home, I locked every bolt behind me and pulled the blinds shut. I set the tools on the floor and just stared at the wall. The drywall was painted the same drab off-white as the rest of the apartment, but now I noticed little things I'd missed before. Tiny dents. Faint smudges. A line that shouldn't be there, running vertically like a seam. I turned on the stud finder. Beep. Beep. Nothing. Then, beep beep beep. A cluster of signals right where I'd heard the knocks. Too tight to be wiring. Too solid to be just insulation. My pulse quickened. I picked up the hammer. The first swing felt like a betrayal. Like I was breaking a rule I didn't know existed. The drywall cracked easily. Dust filled the air. I coughed, swung again, and peeled back a sheet of gypsum. Behind it? Darkness. Just a gap. Maybe a foot or two deep. But not empty. There was something inside. At first, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. The light from my phone was too harsh, casting weird shadows. I leaned in, holding the flashlight steady. Then I saw it. A camcorder. An old Sony handheld, propped on a tripod and aimed directly at my side of the wall. It had been recording me. For how long, I didn't know. I pulled it out carefully. The battery was long dead, but the memory card was still in it. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. I plugged it into my laptop and opened the files. Dozens of videos. All time-stamped over the last year. Some from weeks ago. Some from months. All of them were of me. Sleeping. Eating. Watching TV. The footage was grainy, zoomed in through a pinhole or something small drilled into the wall. I watched, sick to my stomach, as the camera followed me from room to room. In one clip, I was in the kitchen making toast. In the background, just for a moment, a pale face could be seen behind me, reflected in the microwave door. I paused the video. Stared at it. That wasn't me. That face, its eyes were too wide, too sunken, its mouth just slightly open, like it had been caught whispering something. I slammed the laptop shut. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to throw up. My apartment, my sanctuary, had been invaded in a way I couldn't comprehend. I wasn't just being watched. I was being studied. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept the lights on and sat with a knife in my hand, staring at the wall. At 3:17 a.m., the knocks came again. But this time, there were more than 3. Knock, 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 knock. A rhythm. Almost like Morse code. I don't know why, but I recorded the pattern. The next day, I looked it up. The knocks translated to trapped. I tried to laugh, but it came out broken. Like my lungs forgot how. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Was it some elaborate prank? A squatter hiding in the crawlspace? A ghost? I was spiraling. I needed help. I showed the footage to the building manager. He watched in silence, his face going pale. Then he said something that chilled me to the bone, "That's not possible." I asked him what he meant. He told me 304 didn't share a wall with my bedroom. According to the building's layout, there should be a maintenance shaft between us. No room for cameras. No way for sound to travel. He brought out the blueprints. He was right. There was a gap, maybe 3 feet wide, between my wall and the next unit. A space that didn't appear to have access from either side. A dead zone. "We sealed it years ago," he said. "Why?" I asked. He looked at me, like he was debating whether to tell me the truth. Then, finally, because we found bones in there. A child. Must have been decades old. Nobody ever claimed them. We thought it was some old crime, maybe from before the building changed ownership. So we just sealed it up. He sounded ashamed. I left before he could say more. That night, the knocking didn't come. For the first time in weeks, it was quiet. But that made it worse. Silence had become a warning. Around 4 a.m., I was drifting off when I heard a new sound. Scraping. Like nails on the inside of the drywall. Slow, deliberate. Then a voice. Clearer this time. Closer. "You see me now." I bolted out of bed, turned on every light, and grabbed the camera again. I held it to the wall. Nothing. But when I replayed the footage, there it was. A shadow. Moving just beyond the hole I'd made. Not human. Too long. Too thin. It moved like it had too many joints. Like it was unfolding itself from the space between the walls. I backed away. I didn't sleep. I didn't even sit. I stood in the middle of my apartment holding a bat until the sun came up. I knew then I had to leave. But something told me it wouldn't let me. Not anymore. I started packing the next morning. No more waiting. No more hoping it would go away. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, whatever I could fit into 2 bags. I didn't care about furniture or dishes or the deposit. I just wanted out. I tried calling friends to see if I could crash with them, but none answered. Voicemails. Dead tones. I even tried hotels, but all were fully booked for a convention I hadn't known about. The city was full, like it was conspiring to trap me here. The knocking came again while I was zipping the last bag. This time it wasn't tentative. It was loud. Aggressive. Like fists slamming against the inside of the wall. And then, something new. Laughter. Soft at first, but growing. A wet, broken sound. I dropped the bag and ran to the door. But the knob wouldn't turn. I yanked it, twisted it with all my strength. Nothing. Jammed, sealed, or locked from the other side. I was trapped. I turned to grab my phone, but the screen was black. Dead. Even though it had been charging all night. I tried the light switch. Nothing. Power was out. I was alone. Cut off. And then I saw it. The hole in the wall, the one I had pried open, was bigger. Wider. I didn't touch it. I swear I didn't. But now it was almost 3 feet across. Big enough to crawl through. I couldn't see what was beyond it. Just pitch black and that same stench from before, like old meat and rot and mildew. I backed away, heart pounding. That's when I heard a voice. Not from inside the wall. From behind me. Why did you wake it up? I turned, and standing in my kitchen was a man I'd never seen before. He wore a janitor's uniform, but it was wrong. Faded. Out of date. His name tag was just a blank metal plate. His face was pale and sagging, like he hadn't slept in years. I stammered, asking who he was, how he got in. He didn't answer. Just stared past me, at the hole in the wall. It was sleeping. You were safe. But you broke the seal. Now it knows you. What is it? I whispered. He didn't respond. Just slowly walked past me, toward the hole. You can't run from it. You can't fight it. The best you can do is forget. With that, he stepped into the wall. Into the dark. And vanished. I screamed. Ran to where he'd gone. Nothing. Just the same empty space. But the smell was stronger now. Almost overwhelming. I backed away again and collapsed on the floor, sobbing. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Hours, maybe. At some point, the lights flickered back on. My phone rebooted. The door opened. Like nothing had happened. I should have run then. I should have left everything and never looked back. But I didn't. Curiosity, fear, obsession, call it what you want. I had to know. I had to understand what I had let out. So I did the only thing I could think of. I climbed into the wall. It was tight, but I could squeeze through. The space was cold and damp, lined with concrete and old wooden beams. I crawled for what felt like forever, turning corners that shouldn't exist, descending deeper than the building should allow. At one point, I found a child's shoe. Moldy. Half buried in dust. Then a toothbrush. A broken doll. All old. All forgotten. The further I went, the more I realized I wasn't in a shaft or tunnel. I was somewhere else entirely. A place beneath the building, beneath the city, where the walls pulsed like lungs and the ceiling dripped with moisture that smelled like decay. And then, I found it. Or maybe it found me. A figure, tall and emaciated, with limbs too long and joints that bent the wrong way. Its face was a blank canvas, save for two hollow sockets where eyes should be. It didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stared. I couldn't run. My limbs wouldn't respond. I just stood there, frozen, as it raised one hand and placed a single finger against the spot where its mouth would be. And then, it was morning. I was back in my apartment. On the floor. Drenched in sweat. The hole in the wall was gone. Sealed like it had never been there. My bags were unpacked. Everything in its place. I checked the calendar. 3 days had passed. No calls. No messages. It was like I'd vanished. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I ever truly left that space, or if some part of me is still there. Watching. Waiting. The knocking hasn't come back. Neither has the laughter. But sometimes, late at night, I'll catch my reflection in the TV screen. And for just a second, it isn't doing what I'm doing. It lags. Smiles. Or stares a little too long. I try not to look anymore. I try not to think. I've learned to keep the lights on. To ignore the seams in the wall. To pretend none of it ever happened. Because whatever I let out, it never really left. And now it lives just behind the drywall. Waiting for someone else to listen.